this archive, you can see when everyone joined your party, aka when you pulled them first. And one helpful one in particular is Amber down here. Amber joins your party first out of all of the characters when you start playing. Shortly after you start, you get a copy of Amber. This is also in the American date format. So, month, day, year. But it means that I started playing Genshin on the 27th of February 2021, which is a couple years ago. 4 years ago, 4.5 ish at this point, which is a while. But I did take a bit of a break for a couple of years. I have gone through all of the characters in this archive, and I have noted them and their joining date in a spreadsheet so that I could order them from when I first obtained them, and we can get a bit of a pulling history together. Unfortunately, you can't sort it by joining date on this page. Unfortunately, it would be very helpful, but I have done the work for us and put it in a spreadsheet so that we can take a look. And I think I will, I'll go through all of the 5 stars that I have, and then I might go through some of the 4 stars that I use a lot, rather than go through all of them. There is actually, if I just go back to this page, there is actually only, is it this one? There's only one 4-star I don't have, and it's Mika, who I would like to complete my collection, but I gather that he's not the best, so I might not end up using him, but it would be nice just to have all the 4 stars for completion's sake. Anyway, let me move over to the builds section, the character pages, and I will go through all of the 5 stars in order, and maybe talk about pulling them and stuff if I remember how it went or why I pulled for them. And if I use them and have gear on them, we can take a look at their build as well. So, there is a bit of a list. I have 39 5-star characters. I use a small fraction of them, but it might take a little while just to go through them all, so make sure you are nice and cozy and settled in as we head over to the first 5-star character I pulled, who is, where is she? Jean. There is a chance that in true Genshin fashion I lost my first 50-50. I can't remember whether my first copy of Jean would have come from the standard banner or the character limited banner at the time, but Jean is my first 5 5-star. I got her on the 5th of March 2021, which is only about a week or so after I started playing, based on when I got Amber on the 27th of February 2021. I don't use Jean a huge amount. To be honest, I really only use her in the Imaginarium Theatre if she comes up. But I do think that she's pretty good. I really like using Furina, who we will see a bit later on, and Jean can heal the entire team, which is perfect for Furina. I do also have Jean at C4, so she is not too far away from being my first C6 5-star. Although she isn't limited, of course, she is on the standard banner. I think Jean's pretty cool though. I don't really use her, so the artifacts I have on her aren't gonna be great. Kind of just whatever worked at the time, I'm sure, when I wanted to use her for the Imaginarium Theatre. Make sure that she had a 4-piece Viridescent Venerer on. And I must have taken her sword off at some point, but yeah, Jean's my first 5-star character. So she has a bit of a soft spot for that reason. Second, though, is my first limited 5-star. Zhongli, who I picked up on the 2nd of May 2021. So a couple months after Jean. I really like Zhongli, and he carried me hard through the early game when I was playing. His shield was so strong, and it meant that I didn't have to have much skill when it came to dodging attacks and things like that, because his shield could just tank everything. I don't really use him too much nowadays, unfortunately. But I'm very fond of him for how he helped me out in the early game. He doesn't really have a build, really, because I don't use him. I think probably the last time I properly used him was for his, I can't remember what they're called, but there's like a trial you can do in the Imaginarium Theatre room to get like a trail that follows behind the character as they run, and Zhongli has one. So I think I used him to get that, and then I haven't really touched him since. To be honest, I don't really use shielders too much anymore, because I really like using Furina in most of my teams, and her health drain mechanic kind of means that you need to pair her up with a healer as well. And then if you have Furina, a healer, Zhongli is your shielder, with a bit of like supportive capabilities from his elemental resistance shred. It doesn't leave you with much space in terms of team building. But I would like to find a nice team to use him in again. But yeah, I don't have any constellations for him. And his talents aren't even fully leveled up. I think, yeah, I leveled up his skill a bunch to get his shield to be relatively good, and then kind of left him there as I transitioned to some other characters. But I do still like Zhongli. often, so I'm glad I got him nice and early. My next 5-star is another limited 5-star, and it's Kamisato Ayato, who again I really like the design of, and I like his character as well. When we met him in Inazuma, but I don't really use him that much now, unfortunately. He is a very interesting character to use, though. I remember when I got him, the way that he worked kind of confused me a little bit. I wasn't too familiar with Genshin, and at the time I only really played on mobile, which, to be honest, I didn't get along with very well. I just couldn't get to grips with the controls too well, which might have been a reason for why I took quite a long break after playing for just a little bit. I picked up Ayato on the 31st of December 2022, so a decent break after getting Zhongli over a year, like a year and a half-ish, and based on the dates, took another break. I do have some artifacts on him. I think I used him in a recent Imaginarium theatre. To be honest, the artifacts I've got on him at the moment are pretty good. This one's a good one. This one's really pretty good. 2 rolls in attack, 1 in crit damage, 1 in elemental masteries, okay. That one's not fully leveled up. That one's at rank 0. And this one's okay as well. I think, yeah, I would have put some random stuff that kind of worked so that I could use him if I needed to in the theatre. But there's Ayato. I don't have any constellations for him either. After I picked him up on New Year's Eve, 2022, I didn't get another 5-star character until the 5th of September 2023, who was, where is she? Dehya or Dehya, one of the two. I picked her up on the 5th of September 2023, and she's a standard character, so it could have been a lost 50-50, or it could have been from the standard banner. She is another character that I don't really use that much. I think I remember kind of trying to level her up a bit and put some gear on her to work with. I think that I thought she would work okay with Mualani when I got her, but it didn't work out very well. So she's kind of sat in the dust a little bit. I do have her at C3 though. Again, she's a standard banner character, so she'll show up when you lose 50-50s. And sometimes if you just get a character from the standard banner, she will be there. But I think she's pretty cool though. Next up, very soon after, is another limited character. Potentially telling a story in terms of where Dehya came from. It is Tartaglia, who I picked up the day after Dehya. It's been a while while since I've played through Sumeru, so I can't remember how they pronounced her name. Sorry about that. But I picked up Tartaglia on the 6th of September, 2023. He's another character that I really like. I love how he shows up in the main story so much. But again, unfortunately, a character I don't really use that much. He's got a very interesting play style between kind of some ranged and melee attacks. So I would like to use him more, but he has strong competition in the Hydro DPS role, unfortunately, so he would very much be a labour of love. I would say that I usually go for my favourite characters rather than meta ones. Occasionally I have picked up a character, not entirely but partially because I've heard that they're really, really good. And then I pick them up, I use them, and they are good, they do a load of damage, but I just kind of drop them after a while because they don't spark joy. Not to say that I hate them, just that I prefer to use other characters for other reasons. We can maybe talk about those as I get onto them. But here he is. He just has some gear again. I'm fairly certain this will be mostly for the Imaginarium Theatre, but the pieces aren't awful. This one's actually really good in terms of the crit value on it. It has 3 rolls in crit damage and 1 roll in crit rate, which means that HP percentage must have come as a fourth substat, but this is a really good piece. Really good. This one's okay, and that's a purple, which I think potentially he's the only character currently on my account who has got a purple equipped. I would have geared him ages ago when I got him to try him out, and this piece isn't awful, so I just never moved off it. If I used him more, I would definitely want to upgrade that to a yellow piece. But there is Tartaglia. Tartaglia. I picked up my next 5-star not long after that. So just a couple days after Dehya and Tartaglia, I picked up Tighnari, who I also really like. For a while, for a little while, he was my main DPS. I really liked how he worked, but as has been the story so far, I don't really use him that much now. I have other Dendro characters that I prefer to use, but I'm pretty sure he does have some good pieces on. This one's really nice. 3 rolls in crit damages, pretty tasty. 2 in energy recharge isn't wasted either on most people. This piece is really good, look at that. It's pretty even across the board, and elemental mastery was an added stat, but that's a solid piece. This one's good as well. Elemental mastery main stat with a really good crit value down here. A decent Dendro main stat goblet. There, the 2 rolls in HP and 1 in flat attack is not what we would be looking for, but yeah. So he has some pretty good pieces on. No weapon though. I haven't used him so that will have been where the artifacts came from, and then I've since swapped his weapon off, but he is at C2. And I think, I couldn't say for sure, but I think I got his C2 relatively recently. Yeah. I think in terms of the standard banner, he is one of the better characters, generally, although of course I tend to try and favour my favourites. But yeah, I'm not upset at getting constellations for him, to be honest. Yeah. Next up, another standard character. You, of course, can't lose two 50/50s in a row, so one of these, either Tighnari or the next character, must have come from the standard banner. Next up we have Qiqi. I never really vibed with Qiqi. I don't think I ever actually used her, like, at all. I think if I put her onto a team and took her out onto the field now, it will maybe be the first time that I've ever done that. I just never found a place for her in any of the teams I wanted to play. I have heard C3, but again, constellations for her are pretty rough to see, because I don't use her at all, and I don't see myself using her. But she's pretty chill. She's chill otherwise. My next 5-star though is a staple on my account, and one of my favourite characters of all time. It is Monsieur Neuvillette, who I picked up on the 29th of September 2023. I also think I forgot to say, but I got Qiqi on the 27th of September 2023, so a couple days before Neuvillette, meaning there's the potential I lost my first 50/50 on Neuvillette's banner to her. Maybe that's why I have such complicated feelings about her. But Neuvillette here is one of my favourite characters, and I remember that he was probably like the main reason why I started playing Genshin again after like a 2-year break. I remember seeing some drip marketing for him on Twitter or something, and I thought he looked so cool that I would start playing the game again and save up my primo gems to try and make sure I get a copy of him. So I'm super happy I have him, and he is potentially the most well-built character on my account. I do have him at C3. I picked up 3 extra copies of him on his latest banner, which was, I can't remember how long ago now, maybe like, it was somewhere between 6 months and a year ago. But I picked up 3 copies of him. I am fairly certain he was on banner with Hazo, who I really wanted, so I was very happy to drop all of my savings into that banner. But here he is. I use him all the time, so I think it's worth going through his build in some more detail. He has, at the moment, 31,892 HP. He scales with his HP, so the more HP he has, the more damage he does. He has 2 ways that he gets more HP than that, though. I've got him on a official Jade, which not only gives a very good amount of crit rate, it also boosts the character's max HP by 64% and their elemental mastery by 80, which isn't wasted on him. But the max HP is very, very nice. So he gets 64% more HP than that. And I pretty much always run him with Furina, with at least Furina, who as a Hydro character boosts the team's HP by 25% because there's 2 Hydro characters in the team. So if we deploy this one, and we just wait a couple seconds for Neuvillette to get the Jade weapon buff, he now has 44,971 HP, which is not bad at all. I think that's one of the main stats there. And otherwise, I've got him built for crits, of course. His base crit stats are 62.7% crit rate and 219.0% crit damage, but I've got him on the Marchese Hunter set, which boosts his crit rate pretty much 100% of the time because of the way he works. It boosts it by another 36%, so he actually ends up with about 99% crit rate, which is nice to have. 132.4% energy recharge and 76.6% hydro damage bonus, so he hits pretty hard. I've got his normal attack and charged attack leveled up to max. The majority of his damage comes from his charged attack. I do want to kind of get the other ones leveled up to max at some point, but they're not super high priority on my list just because the majority of his damage comes from the charged attack there. And in terms of artifacts, he has some pretty good pieces on him. This flower is really nice. Pretty much everything he's looking for, some crit rate, crit damage, HP percentage, and some energy recharge, isn't too bad. Because I run him in a double Hydro team, it's not as important. The other Hydro character will help boost his energy and get his ult back up, but it's not entirely wasted. The feather is also very nice. Again, we got some rolls in energy recharge, but we also have some crit rate, crit damage, and HP percentage. The sands are nice. 2 rolls in crit damage. We have some crit rate, and we've also got 2 rolls in elemental mastery. I run him most of the time in a freeze team with Neuvillette, Furina, Escoffier, and Mona as well. So the elemental mastery doesn't apply too much there. But I've run him in electro charged teams in the past with like Fischl and Aurora sometimes, and it matters more there for a bit of extra damage. We have an offset goblet with hydro damage main stat, 2 rolls in crit rate, 1 roll in crit damage, and a little bit of elemental mastery as well. And finally we have a crit damage circlet, which rolled 4 times in HP percentage, which is nice to see. So he's in a good state, I think. I'm happy with how he's built. And he does the job in pretty much any content I bring him in. So I'm really really happy with him. Next up, I have another standard character who I mentioned recently. I picked up Mona on the 9th of October 2023. I quite like Mona. I like her design. I really like the vibrant red and the blues and purples as well. I think work really well together. I didn't really use her at all until fairly recently when I was putting together my Hydro and Cryo team here, and I needed a fourth person, and Mona seemed to fit the role pretty well. So I haven't had her built for a hugely long time. I've got her on a 4-piece emblem of Severed Fate. She gets a load of bonuses from having high energy recharge, so it makes sense to put her on this, and it means that her burst comes up pretty frequently, which helps boost the damage of Neuvillette on kind of specifically single big targets, but it's still pretty good. So I've got her on the 4-piece there. Some of them need a bit of leveling up. This piece looks really good. Let's do a bit of impromptu gearing. We'll just get this one up to +20. Here we go. Sure, energy recharges. Very nice to see. We only have 4 substat rolls though, as you can see from these numbers. And you get a substat roll kind of technically every 4 levels. Unless you don't have 4 substats on a gear when you pick it up. In which case one of those substat rolls will go into adding a substat. So that just means that this piece started off with 3 substats. Our 4th one showed up as crit damage, and then we got these 4 rolls. So that's a really nice piece. I'm happy to have that on her. We have another one here, which is also pretty good. Let's do this one too. We have some attack, crit damage, energy recharge is perfect. It's exactly what we're looking for on Mona. So that's another very nice piece for her. This one is fully leveled up. It's an energy recharge main stat with a bit of crit rate and crit damage. This piece is not quite as good as the other ones we've seen. HP and defense are not necessarily things we're looking for, so I think I won't bother leveling that one up right now, but it's not unusable. And then finally we have her on an off piece with crit rate, main stat, a bit of attack and some energy recharge there. So overall she's in a pretty good state. She's at 273.3% energy recharge, 91% hydro damage, and her crit rate is 54.8 with a crit damage of 94.3. So she's pretty solid, although she's not fully leveled up, mainly because something about getting these mushrooms is such a pain. I think off the top of my head there's only one Mondstadt character, and I'd be very happy to be corrected. There's only one Mondstadt character that shows the local specialties on the map, which I think is Qiqi. I don't have Qiqi, so it's always a pain to try and find these mushrooms hidden around all the houses. And she does the trick pretty well at the moment, so I will be leveling her up eventually, just not right now. And I have her at C3. So I'm happy to see more constellations for her, considering I use her for one of my best teams at the moment. Here are her talents. The only one that I'm really bothered about leveling up is her burst, which needs a bit of work, but it does the trick at the moment. So there's Mona. Next up we have another limited character from Fontaine. Any guesses? Any guesses? guesses. It is Wriothesley. Wriothesley. He was another reason I started playing the game again after a little break. I just really like all of the Fontaine characters, to be honest. I think their designs are great, and I vibe with them really well. So I have Wriothesley here. I don't use him too much, but I do like using him. So he is leveled up pretty well, and I think his gear is, I was gonna say it's okay, but I must have taken some pieces off of him. I do have gear that works with him. Some Merchase Hunter pieces, mainly. Not quite as good as Neuvillette's setup, but I have some pieces that work well with him. I must have just taken them off though, and I would usually run him on the Widsith. The Widsith that works pretty well with main DPSs there. I do have him at C1, and I remember getting him at C1 when his banner was first around, just because after reading through what it did and checking online to see what other people thought, it was such a quality of life increase for him. It would have been great if this was in his base kit. It just gives him like some extra stacks of his like empowered charged attack that heals him and does extra damage. When he does the 5th attack of his normal attack string, would have been perfect to be in his base kit, but they moved it onto a constellation there, unfortunately. So I do have that, and I do like using him. His normal attack is where most of his damage comes from, and his charge attack, so I've got that at 9 and the other one's at not quite as high. But yeah, I really like him. Would like to use him some more. But a recent character I picked up is potentially a better cryo DPS. Not one that I like as much though, but we'll get onto her when she comes up. Next up, another standard character who, to be honest, I don't have too much to say about. And I think I forgot to say I got Wriothesley on the 17th of October 2023. So not too long after Mona. Potentially a 50-50 there. The next character I picked up is Diluc, who I think is cool. I think he's fine in terms of a design. I think I've seen some like memes and stuff where his like head shape is so odd compared to some of the more recent characters. He ends up looking a bit like a bug if you were to lift up his fringe there. Like if we compare him to Wriothesley that we just moved off of. The proportions for the head are strange. But I don't hold that against him. Yeah, I think he looks fine. I think he's cool. I have never used him, and I've got him at C2. That's about all I have to say for Diluc. Next up, another one of my favourite characters, and another Fontaine. Another Fontainian. It is the Archon with an asterisk. Furina. I love her character. Her character story, kind of combined with Neuvillette's, is definitely my favourite one in the game, and potentially one of my favourite stories in all of gaming. I just think it was so well done. The voice acting and everything was perfect to go along with it, and the characters that we've ended up with are so well rounded. They have so much depth. I just think they did a 10 out of 10 job with it. And I'm very glad that she's also incredibly strong from a gameplay perspective. So I have Furina here. She's at C1. I picked up her C1 on her most recent banner, so not on her original one. And in terms of a build, I haven't really touched it for a while. It's not perfect, but I got it to a point where it worked really well, and then I just kind of moved my focus to other people. So she is another HP scaler. She has a good amount of HP, 38,984. Her crit rate and crit damage are okay. 52.6 and 136.3. Plus the weapon I have on her boosts the crit rate of her elemental skill, which is where most of her personal damage comes from. She has a lot of energy recharge to make sure her burst is up every rotation, and that's about him. So I have her here on the Fleuve Centre Ferryman. Energy recharge main stat, boost crit rate of elemental skill, and gives you a nice chunk of energy recharge as well after using the skill. This is one that you get from fishing in Fontaine, which is nice just because it means that if I could ever build up the motivation, it wouldn't be impossible to get loads more refinement ranks here, which I should do one day. I've got her on a 4-piece golden troop, which boosts her elemental skill damage. Again, that's where the majority of her, pretty much all of her personal damage comes from. And she has some pretty good pieces. She has some pretty good pieces on, with a focus on energy recharge, crit rate, crit damage, and HP percentage as well. So both of her goblet and her sands are HP, and her circlet is crit damage, but otherwise she has some pretty nice pieces on. And both her skill and her burst are level 10. So I love using Furina. She is in a lot of the teams I use. Yeah, one of my favorites for sure. Next up, oh, I keep forgetting to say, actually, before I move on, I got her on the 22nd of November, 2023. Next up, we have one of my favorite characters from a design perspective, who is unfortunately not on my frequent rotation for damage dealers. It's Cyno. I got him on the 22nd, on the 13th of December, actually, 2023. I really like his design and his character. I think they are some of my favorites. But his damage isn't great. Maybe it was because I didn't invest a super long period of time to gearing him. So maybe I should try picking him up again, but his, there's just other Electro on-field DPSs that do a lot more damage, unfortunately, so sometimes it's hard to justify bringing him out. For that reason, he's not really built. I think he just has random bits of gear on for when he showed up in the theater, but otherwise, yeah, I don't really have him built, unfortunately. I don't have any constellations, and his talents look like this. Nothing special. I love him as a character, but I would also love to see a buff, which I don't think they will ever do. Yeah, there's Cyno. Next up. On the 2nd of February 2024, so a couple months after getting Cyno, I picked up another limited character, Nahida, who I do not use that much. I think she's really strong. She's really good at what what she does, but the kind of teams that she's played in aren't really the playstyle that I prefer, that I like to use. So yeah, I picked her up because I knew that she was strong, and I thought she was pretty fun. But I don't really use her, to be honest. She's also not really built for that reason. I have her on a 4-piece Deepwood memory set though. I think I farmed like a little bit for her when I got her, and I haven't really used any other characters that would want this set, so I never moved any of the pieces off of her. But there she is, she's at C0, and she isn't massively talented up. Again, just because I used her for a bit. It wasn't really my thing, and I haven't really picked her up since. Next up though, another limited character. It might be that in between these limited characters, sorry, I should rephrase, I'm almost 100% sure that in between these limited characters, I will have lost 50/50s and got constellations for the standard ones, but the only date that they show you is when you first saw them. So it might be that in between, like Cyno and Nahida, I lost a 50/50 to Diluc, who I already had, so it doesn't update the date obtained there. So we don't have that information. I promise I'm not as lucky as it sounds as I'm listing off all of these limited characters in a row. But the next one on the list is Xianyun. Who is another one I don't really use at all. I think she came out, I thought her design was pretty cool. I really liked the movement that she gave. She has like 2 big leaps that you can use out of combat just to like dash across the world. I thought that looked so fun. And she also came out at the same time, I'm pretty sure, as Gaming, who I really liked and wanted to pick up. I think they're probably on the same banner, so that's kind of why I got her. She boosts plunge teams, but it's not something I really play nowadays. So she's not really built. I think I've used her a couple times in Imaginarium Theatre, so that's why she has some gear on. This one's pretty decent actually. Attack and energy recharge are pretty good for her. But otherwise, yeah, I don't really use her. I don't have any constellations, and she's not fully talented up. Yeah. Next up is another character that I am very fond of from a design and character point of view, but is not someone I find a lot of uses for. It is the one and only Arataki Itto. I love his design. I think he looks cool. It's always great to see Genshin do like slightly more buff guys compared to the beanpoles they usually release. So I really liked Itto. I was super excited for his banner to come out because I'd wanted him for a while, but he hadn't been on banner. I did a bunch of pre-farming ready for him, so he came out. I leveled him up. I had some fairly decent artifacts that I have mostly moved to other people now, I think. And I prepared like Goro as well, his like one of his best in slot supports, and then I tried him out for a while, and the damage was pretty miserable. It was really difficult to clear content with him. I'm sure with more investment and better gear it would be okay, but it was just so difficult to use that I really just used him a bit in the overworld. And that was kind of it. So I am glad to have him. I really like him, but I don't use him that often. He is at C0. and his normal attack is the highest talent here. That's where most of his damage comes from. But there's Itto there. I think the next character was on the other banner at the same time, potentially. I can't quite remember, but the other character also worked really well with Itto, and I must have got lucky to get them both. If I can find her, it is... Here she is, Chiori, who I think I probably used in Itto's team, and then when I moved on from that, I kind of stopped using Chiori as well. But I think she's cool. I really like how she plays. I love how with her skill you can like dash up or across. You can do like a dash with her, and then you can switch to another character mid-air, which usually you can't do. It means that if you pair her with people like Kazuha, who can jump in mid-air, essentially, you can get some really great height, and it's really fun to do. But otherwise, I don't really use her that much. So I don't really have her built up. Just some like random gear. I'm pretty sure nothing too impressive. So I won't bother going through that. She's not really talented up, and I don't have any constellations. So yeah, there's Chiori. Next up, I think is the at the time it was the final 5-star character on the standard banner. On the standard banner, I keep forgetting to say the dates actually. I got Itto and Chiori around the same time. Itto was on the 13th of March 2024, and Chiori was on the 14th of March 2024, and this next character was on the 16th of March 2024. Wow. If you have been paying attention, you might be able to figure out who it is. At the time, they were the final 5-star character from the standard banner I didn't have, and it's Keqing, who I think is fine. I don't really have many opinions on her, to be honest. As you can see, I don't use her. She's only level 20, and she doesn't have a weapon or any artifacts equipped. I do have her at C2, but yeah, I don't have much to say about Keqing. Sorry to any Keqing fans out there. Next up, though, I could speak about for hours. He is maybe my favourite character in all of Genshin. It is Kazuha. I think my favourite element is Anemo, followed closely by Hydro probably, but Anemo is my favourite element, I would say, and I really like Kazuha. I think his design is so cool. I love his cute little sideways ponytail, and it's just a cherry on top that he is like an incredible unit, very powerful. So I use him all the time in any teams I can fit him in. He's mainly built to have as much elemental mastery as possible, and then some energy recharge to make sure his burst is up whenever I need it. Otherwise he is on Iron Sting, which has elemental mastery as a main stat. 4-piece Viridescent Venerer, of course, with all of the pieces focusing on elemental mastery, energy recharge, and then some crit stats. Crit stats if we can get them, with elemental mastery main stats for the sands, the goblet, and the circlet. So yeah, I think he's built pretty well. He works really well, and I love using him. I don't have any constellations for him though. To be honest, I don't think the constellations example, the C1 is not too great. The C2 is pretty good though. It's really good for elemental mastery teams. It boosts everyone's EM by quite a lot, but that's a pretty big investment. Maybe I'll try saving up a bit for when he's next on banner to try and grab that, but for now I'm very happy with how he is. And I have his skill and his burst at level 10. Very happy with him. He also has one of those trails, the same kind that Zhongli has, that I have, and it leaves kind of like a trail of wind and leaves in the background. So, I love that. He's, yeah, probably my favourite character. He is followed quite closely by the next character on the list, though, who is Lyney. Again, I really enjoy his design. I love the whole magician aesthetic. I think it's so much fun. And he is still pretty good as a main DPS. I don't use him too much. I use him every now and then if I need like a pyro DPS. But yeah, he's mainly built for attack and crit stats, of course. His crit stats at the moment are about 60% crit rate and 218% crit damage. His crit rate gets boosted though. It gets boosted because he's on the Merchase Hunter set, so that goes up by another 36% in combat, so it's up to about 86, which is pretty good. And I do have his signature weapon. I really like the look of it, and it has a powerful effect as well. So I was keen to get that. The first great magic. Here he is on the Merchase Hunter set, where the pieces focus on crit stats and attack percentage mainly, wherever we can get it. I think that I've swapped some pieces off him, so he's not at his peak, but he does a really good job. I also have him at C1, and his talents look like this, with his basic attack skill up at level 10. His charged attacks do a load of, like, the majority of his damage, so that's important to level up, and then 9 from his skill. So yeah, big fan of Lyney, also one of my favourite characters, but he does get pipped at the post by Kazuha for my number 1 favourite. Next up, a relation of Lyney. It is Arlecchino. I don't use her a huge amount. Probably less than Lyney overall, but I really enjoyed her design and how her gameplay looked. After I got her, I don't think her gameplay kind of vibes with me. I don't think I vibe with the gameplay quite as much as I was hoping, so that's why I don't use her quite as much. But I do have her fairly decently built, with a focus on attack and crit stats here. So she's up at 2,351 attack, although more often than not I would run her with another pyro character at least, which gives an attack percentage bonus as the resonance there. And she has 57% crit rate and 219.8% crit damage. The crit rate is a little bit low, but I think again I've taken some pieces off her to go onto other people since she's been at her peak on my account, so she has been better. And I do have her signature weapon, Crimson Moon's Semblance. It is of course really good on her, but I also loved how it looked when you play this weapon with her. skill to like go into her. I can't remember what all the states are called. But you go into a special state, and this looks like a scythe with a a blood red blade. Super cool. Loved how that looked. So I did manage to get it for her. Otherwise, I've got her on a 4-piece Gladiators finale. And I think the pieces are pretty good. This one has 4 rolls in crit damage, which is very nice. Very nice to see. This one is also a pretty good piece with attack and crit rate. The 2 rolls in flat HP though are not great to see. This one's good. This one's a good piece. All of the pieces are pretty good. I think if I were to use her more, I would just want a bit more crit rate on her. And I don't have any constellations. But she's talented up fairly well, with her normal attack being the majority of her damage, so that's at 9. Yeah, there's Arlecchino. Next up, I got Arlecchino on the day after Lyney, actually. Looking at this, on the 25th of April 24, and Lyney was on the 24th of April 2024. So pretty close together there. Next up though, I got a character on the 21st of May 24, and it is Wanderer, who, again, Animo's my favourite element. I really enjoy almost everyone's design in the Animo element, and Wanderer is no exception. I love his big hat. I love his character as well, to be honest. He's very bratty. But I do think that he had some pretty nice development in the story. I also like how he played as well. So he was like my main DPS, especially for the overworld, for quite a while. I haven't used him quite as much recently, but I'm still happy to have him. I've named him Arlecchino, and I think potentially I've taken some pieces off him, maybe, but I currently have him on this Skyward Atlas and a 4-piece Desert Pavilion Chronicle, which boosts his like normal attack speed and damage, which is where most of his damage comes from, and he does have some pretty good pieces on. The flower has 4 rolls in crit rate. Very nice to see. We love that. This piece is like perfect. All 4 stats are ones that we want, and it's pretty balanced across the board. We have an attack percentage sans with crit rate and crit damage and some elemental mastery, which isn't wasted on him because he's Animo. He does do some swirls as well. We have an Animo damage bonus main stat goblet with energy recharge and some crit damage that we're mainly interested in. And he's on a crit damage circlet with a load of attack. So his crit rate is a little bit low as it stands. However, his talent gives him some bonuses depending on, what is it, one of these? Yeah. Here, I would have run him with a cryo character, so that when he absorbs the element, he gets another 20% crit rate, which is very, very nice to have, and would have boosted him up to about 74% and 148% crit damage. So not bad at all. I really liked using him, and I might crack him out again. If I find a good chance. Next up, I have another character that I really like from a design and character perspective, but I really haven't used that much. It is Alhaitham. Here he is. I got him on the 6th of June 2024. to other like Dendro main DPSs. So I don't think I've got him built particularly well at the moment. I have him on a black sword and a split 2-piece set. So yeah, he's at no constellations, and he is actually fully talented up on his skill, but to be honest, I don't really use him all that much. I'm still happy to have him though. I really like him as a character, and I loved him in the Sumeri story as well. Our next character is travelling back to Fontaine. It is Clorinde. I got her on the 21st of June 2024, and although I don't use her that much now, she was my main. If I needed electro damage, she was my go-to for a while. She's at C0 though, and I don't have her built really at the moment, so I don't think it's worth going through, but I think she's pretty cool. I love her animations and playstyle and stuff, but I just have other characters that I go to for electro damage nowadays. Next up, we have poor Sigewinne. Poor Sigewinne. I can't remember why I have her, to be honest. I think there was a 4-star character on her banner that I wanted, but I can't remember who it was. But I have Sigewinne. I don't really use her. I was considering using her in like some Neuvillette teams, but there were just better options at the time, so I don't really have her built at the moment. I have some bits on her, but they're not really leveled up, and she's at C0, and she isn't really leveled up for her talents. I do think she is super cute though. And I love the relationship that Neuvillette has with the Melusines. So yeah, I want to use her, but I find it hard to find the right time. Sigewinne I picked up on the 12th of July 2024. Next up, another Fontaine character. I really loved the Fontaine cast. It is Navia, who I think her design is incredible. I really love it. Her clothes and her big hat and her umbrella cannon. However, I don't really use her. As it turns out, Geo characters are just not my style. I know that she can be really strong if you build her properly, but I just don't use her. She is at C0, and I don't really have her built. And her talents aren't really done. But I think she's really pretty, and I love her design. I got her on the 1st of August 2024. Next up, I picked up Emilie, whose design I also enjoyed, and I was keen to get her because she works really well in burning teams, and I knew that Kinich from Natlan was coming up soon, and I really wanted to run them together, so I picked her up with that in mind. And although we'll come on to this when I talk about Kinich, I don't use him as much at the moment. I did use her quite a lot, and sometimes when I'm doing like Abyss, and there is like a single big enemy who is like vulnerable to burning, I will still crack them out, so she is somewhat built. I have her on Deathmatch, which gives some nice crit rate and attack stats. And yeah, I must have taken some pieces off, but I did have her on a 4-piece unfinished referee, which is perfect for burning, so I do have some good pieces there. This one's really nice, crit damage attack and energy recharge. I gave Ayato, let's just switch that over now. I gave Ayato her circlet, which is crit damage, some attack and crit rate. I have her on an offset Sands, which is very, very good. Attack percentage main stat, 3 rolls into crit damage and 1 into energy recharge. With some crit rate there as well, so that's a really good piece, but it will always be offset because it's on a healing set. She is on an unleveled feather. I can't remember what might have happened there, but the flower is really good as well, with crit damage and attack and some energy recharge. So her build is pretty good actually. Crit rate is a little bit low, but not too bad. 54.2% there and 197.7% crit damage. So she does pack a punch when I do use her. She's at C0 and her talents look like this, with the skill being level 8. She isn't fully leveled up either. Being a sub DPS, it's not quite as important to have her at level 90, but it would be nice, so I want to get around to it one day. Next up though, we see the first of the Natlan cast. I can't remember if I did a video on the polls for this. I think I showed her in a video at one point, but it's Mualani. I did also really enjoy the designs for most of the Natlan cast, and I loved all of the movement that they brought. It was so much fun, especially when you're adventuring in Natlan and you get the extra energy bar. It was so much fun just to zoom around, like on Mualani's shark or grappling hook with Kinich. So I really enjoyed that. However, Mualani is in an awkward spot because she's competing for the role of Hydra DPS with Neuvillette. I know they're not exactly the same. Mualani likes to be run in vaporized teams because she does single instances of loads of damage, whereas Neuvillette just does like constant damage over time. So they're not exactly the same, but it does mean that I don't use Mualani as much as I would like. I don't think she's built incredibly well at the moment. I've got her on a Lost Prayer to the Sacred Winds and a 4-piece Obsidian Codex, which is a really, really good set for Night Soul characters because it boosts their crit rate by 40%, kind of pretty much whenever you would be doing damage anyway. But overall, I think she's usable. She scales with HP. She's at 40,492, and she's currently capping on crit rate quite badly, so I must have moved some pieces around. She gets the extra 40% from the set bonus, so this is up to like 160 crit damage and some energy recharge. I think I used her in a theatre run at some point, so I just put like relatively good pieces on her so that she was usable. Otherwise, she is at C0 and her skill has got the most points in for the talents. Next up, we have another Natlan character, of course. This time it is Kinich, who I was really excited for and was not disappointed in. I used him for a while. I don't use him quite as much now, but I did get some really good use from him. And I still do like pulling him out every so often, so I'm not unhappy at having him. He is looking like this at the moment, with 2,000 or almost 500 attack. This crit rate, of course, will get boosted by 40% in the Night Soul state, so that goes up to 82.1 and 219. It is still a little bit low. He does like single instances of big damage, so it feels really bad when you miss the crit. I would like a bit more on him. Some energy recharge and dendro damage bonus there. I do have his signature weapon, the Fang of the Mountain King. I think it looks really, really cool and is of course perfect on him, so I picked that up. He's on a 4-piece Obsidian Codex with all the pieces aiming for crit stats and attack mostly. So that's a really good piece. They're all fairly decent pieces here. I have no constellations, but his skill is level 10 there, which is where most of his damage comes from. Okay, we're nearing the end of the list. I honestly didn't expect to be rambling as much. So hopefully you enjoyed the extra long video. But let's power through the last few. Next up, we have Raiden Shogun, who I don't really use. I do like her character. I thought she was so cool in Inazuma. Cutscenes and everything were incredible. And her gameplay as well, in terms of being like an off-field electro DPS, is great. She's really good at that. But I just don't really use her. In terms of like off-field electro damage, I have like a standalone favourite character who I love to use as much as I can. So unfortunately, Raiden gets left behind. And I don't think I have her built particularly well. I've got her on the Qiqi, not sure how to say that, cross spear, which is perfect for her with elemental mastery as the stat and elemental skill boost there as the effect. And she's on a 4-piece golden troop, which boosts her elemental skill damage, especially when she's off field. She's at C0 and her skill is mostly talented up. But overall she's at 500 elemental mastery. She is not really built for crit here, but she has an okay amount of energy recharge. I did try using her for a while, but then one of the characters that is we'll take a look at slightly later came out, and I really enjoyed him. So he took the role of off-field electro DPS. Yeah. Next up we have back to Natlan. We have Chaska. I definitely remember doing a pulling video for her, so you could go check that out if you wanted. I am not a huge fan of her design, which I don't think is an unpopular decision. I think her character's cool, and I really like her gameplay. But I think her outfit is a bit of a mess. I love the big gun though, that's super cool. I did use her a lot for a while. I think I've since taken some bits of gear off of her, so she's not tip-top shape, but at the moment I have her on Chainbreaker, and 4-piece Obsidian Codex here. I can see some unleveled pieces though, so I think I would have swapped some pieces off of her. But I did really enjoy using her, and I ended up getting really lucky on her banner. And I'm at C2 Chaska. I didn't aim to go for it, but Chaska was on banner with Auroron. And I really wanted as many copies of Auroron as I could get. And in the process, I ended up getting C2 Chaska. was the 21st of June 24. Sigewinne was the 12th of July 24. Navia was the 1st of August 2024. Emilie was the 22nd of August 2024. Mualani was the 2nd of September 2024. And Kinich was the 17th of September 2024, with Raiden being 21st of September 2024. And Chaska was the 20th of November 2024. And I think we're up to date there. Yeah, I do still like using Chaska occasionally, but I have Animo main DPSs or like on-field drivers that I prefer to use. So she does take a back seat sometimes. Next up, the final member of my roster from Natlan. We have Mawika, who is not built particularly well. If I need like off-field pyro DPS, I tend to pick her up still, but I know that she is really, really good. Maybe even like one of the top on-field pyro DPSs as well. I don't love her design. I think it looks kind of cool. I like the bike as well, but I'm not in love with her design. And I think, sorry Moika fans, I think in terms of her character, I didn't vibe with it very well. In terms of all the Archons, she's probably like lowest on my list. I don't want to sound too harsh, I do still like her. I think back to the Natlan Archon quest, and I don't really like feel too much, you know. I do still think she's cool though. She's not fully leveled up, and I don't think she's built particularly well. I've got her on Serpent Spine and a 4-piece scroll of the Hero of Cinder City, which is definitely a support set, which focuses on attack and crit stats really. So she's at 1731. And like an okay crit ratio, 53.7 to 169. Crit damage, the crit rate's a bit low, but it does the trick. I don't have any constellations, and her skill has the highest talent level out of all of the ones I've got. So yeah, I would like to use her some more, but to be honest, Pyro DPS are probably the characters I use the least off the top of my head. Even though I really like Lyney, I just tend to go for Hydro DPSs or Cryo or Animo, with those being my kind of favourites to use. So yeah. Next up we have someone I picked up from, I think, the Liyue Chronicled banner, or I can't remember exactly what it's called. Chronicled Wish banner, something like that. Baiju. Who I like. I used him for a bit in a Neuvillette team as a shielder and a healer to pair along with Furina, who I think he works pretty well with. But I don't really use him too much recently. So I think he's built okay. I've got him on Prototype Amber, which is some HP percentage main stat, and also gives some really good AoE healing from the effect. And he's on a 4-piece Ocean Hued Clam, which again is a healing focused set. With the overall stats we're going for being HP is up to 40,537, and energy recharge to make sure his burst is up as much as possible. I don't have any constellations, and his burst and his skill have the highest talent levels there. who I like. I love most anime characters, and she's no exception. I used her for a bit, but the damage wasn't great. I was hoping to get some constellations for her from like failed 50/50s, which would boost her effectiveness quite a lot. However, they didn't come about, so I swapped her out for a different Anemo on field driver that I love to use now, who we will talk about in a bit, but that does mean that Mizuki is not built at all. I pretty much took all of her gear and put it onto someone else. She's got no constellations, but she is talented up pretty well with her skill there. Forgot again. Moika I got on the 6th of January 2025, and Baiju on the 29th of January 2025, with Mizuki picking her up on the 17th of February 2025. Next up, another Anemo character, we have Venti. I got Venti on the 22nd of April 2025. And I only used him for a lot, for a bit. For a short time I used him a lot. I really enjoyed using him in a team with Sethos, Auroron, and Xingqiu. I really enjoyed using that, but then I switched to another team that I also really enjoyed using, that did a bit more damage. So I liked using Venti for a bit, but I don't use him too much now. He's pretty much just built for elemental mastery and energy recharge to make sure his burst is up, so nothing too spectacular there. No constellations, and his talents are geared towards his ult here, the Wind's Grand Ode. Couple more. Next up, we're coming up to the most recent characters now. Escoffier. I picked her up on the 14th of May 2025. She is perfect for Hydro and Cryo teams, with her talent, Inspiration, Immersed Seasoning giving an incredible 55% Hydro and Cryo resistance shred, as long as you only have Hydro and Cryo characters. So I really wanted to pick her up for my Neuvillette. I managed to get her, and so I run her now in like a Hydro and Cryo team with Neuvillette mostly, because the resistance shred we get from her is from a talent, and you don't need to level anything up or give her any stats for that. She's not fully finished in terms of gearing. She's only level 70, and her artifacts aren't great. They're mainly geared towards giving her some attack and energy recharge to try and get her ult up as much as possible. She is the healer in this team, the team-wide healer, to counter Furina's team-wide damage. And her ult is where the healing comes from, so being the only cryo character does make it a little bit difficult to keep her energy up. So I was thinking about a second cryo character in this team, but I didn't really have anything that worked very well, so I went with Mona instead. And for the most part, this works really, really well, with Escoffier's ult being up pretty frequently. But yeah. So I'm really glad to have her, almost specifically for my Neuvillette. I got her, I think I mentioned 14th of May 2025. However, she was released shortly before as a Scoffier in the team. I picked Skirk up. I thought her gameplay looked so fun, even though I wasn't really invested in the character. And to be honest, I don't really use her. I still think her gameplay's pretty fun, and she did really good damage. Even though my build wasn't like perfect, but I just didn't find the want to use her much. But I still think probably if I need a cryo DPS for like Spiral Abyss or something, I would probably crack Skirk out with a Scoffier in the team, just because she's that good. She really does do a lot of damage. However, her build has been kind of cannibalized for some other people, with this poor offset Viridescent Venera piece being the only one left with cryo damage bonus and some crit stats. She's at C0 and her skill is mainly talented up. So yeah, and we are now coming on to the final, most recent 5-star character who I have really enjoyed using. Inefa. She is the first character to kind of come from Nodcry, the next region. I think she's potentially counted as Natlan. Well, she's been released during the Natlan patches, but her story ties into Nodcry, which I think is cool. And she is like custom built, if you pardon the pun, custom built for electro-charged, or as she upgrades it to lunar-charged damage, which is currently, and has been for a little while, my favourite team to play with. We saw it at the beginning, Aoife, Furina, Inefa, and I use Kazuha, but Auroran works really well in that team as well. So I've really been enjoying using Inefa, and I think my build's pretty good. She is geared up. She's got some mixed stats. She has an attack threshold that you want to reach as part of one of these. This one, this passive talent has an attack threshold you want to reach, which I'm pretty sure is 2000. At which point you want to switch onto some crit stats and some elemental mastery as well. Her crit stats are looking pretty good. She is at 94.5% crit rate and 172% crit damage, with some energy recharge as well, to make sure we get her burst every rotation. I have her on the Ballad of the Fjords polearm there. And the artifacts are a split set for attack percentage and elemental mastery, but the substats are pretty crazy. This piece is okay. A lot of energy recharge and some crit damage and crit rate. This one's really good. Loads of crit damage and crit rate, 4 rolls between those. Some elemental mastery. We have an attack percentage stance with crit damage, crit rate, and some energy recharge there. We have an attack percentage goblet with some really good crit rate, some crit damage and elemental mastery. And finally we have a crit damage circlet with elemental mastery and 3 rolls into crit rate. So she has some pretty crazy pieces on her. But I really like using her, so I'm happy to have them there. She's at C0 and her skill is level 10. With her ult at level 5, but that just does like upfront damage there, a good amount, but yeah. And with that, we've come to the end of my 5-star characters, which took far longer than I was expecting. I think we'll pick out a couple of special mentions for the 4 stars. Aoife being one of them. I really love using Aoife in terms of exploration and like challenges or domains that need to have loads of small characters, small enemies. Aoife's electro-charged / lunar charged team is so good. Does tons of damage, and I think I mentioned I run Aoife, Furina, Enefa, and Kazuha, so it just decimates smaller enemies. I glanced over at my spreadsheet and realised I once again forgot to say the dates. I got Skirk on the 18th of June 2025, and Enefa on the 30th of July 2025, and I haven't got anyone since. So yeah, we have Aoife there. I would want to point out Hazo as a special mention. I really love Hazo. He was like one of the only animo characters I didn't have for ages, because he hadn't been on banner for like years. He finally showed up, and I dropped all of my savings to get as many copies as possible. I picked up a C6, thankfully. Unfortunately, he doesn't do an incredible amount of damage, but he's built pretty well, I think, with some very decent crit stats there, but special mention there. Another special mention for Auroron, who is my go-to off-field electro DPS. Even though he really likes to be run with another electro character, I still like using him. I actually really love his design. I know that a lot of people don't really like it, but I think he looks really cool. Super like edgy, but it works perfectly with his character because he's like a big baby. So he just looks super edgy. I love it all around, and I think he works really well as a character. And I've got him at C6 as well. C6 as well. There's not really many other 4 stars that I would want to point out too much. I do have, I think I mentioned right at the beginning, I have all of the 4 stars apart from Mika. But I don't use too many of them kind of every day. Aoife's the one that I get the most use out of, so I'm very grateful for him. But yeah, this video's gone on for much longer than I was expecting, and I think I would like to try and wrap it up now. But I really hope that you've enjoyed the account tour of all my builds and stuff. In terms of upcoming like Genshin pulls and things, I am planning on saving until Flynn's comes out in the second half of September. So later on this month, I think that's the plan for him. But I really like the look of him, and I'm going to save up for him. So you can expect a pull video on that, I should think. However, for now, I really hope that you found all of the rambling relaxing, and hopefully you are fast asleep by now. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you come back again soon for another video. Thank you again.